Hello friends, welcome to LeggLife. We received an email recently from one of our viewers, one of you guys, who has a Disney cruise coming up. And she was asking a ton of questions around like COVID related stuff, procedures, what our experience was like. And one of the questions she asked kind of got me thinking. She said, what were you guys going to do if you tested positive at the port? And here's what we realized is that Sherri and I had that whole plan covered going into our cruise.
Yep.
But thank God we didn't need to put that plan into place.
Right.
But we never talked about what our plan was. And I don't know, I guess I never even thought that that could be helpful information.
Right, like we talked about it between ourselves, but we didn't let you guys know.
So what we're going to do is basically in this video let you know what our plan was if we tested positive at the port before our last Disney cruise.
This is actually something that we started talking about several months before our cruise, just in the event, because, we were reading stories about people being turned away at the port.
Yeah, we knew that this whole COVID thing was going to be a big part of the cruising experience, even leading up to whether we'd be able to cruise with vaccination statuses and whether Sherri's doctor wanted her to get the vaccine.
Right.
And so there were just a lot of questions around this. And so for us, we felt like, you know what, this is something we really need to focus on.
Yes.
And so that's exactly what we did. We sat down and we said, okay, so we're at the port in San Diego. God forbid we test positive. What do we do?
What do we do?
Because
we're not getting back on a plane to come back to Alaska.
So that's one of the issues that we have is where we live. At the time we cruised, the borders were closed. There was only one place to get back home, or one way to get back home, and that was by plane.
Right.
And we couldn't live with our conscience if we flew knowing that we had tested positive for COVID.
Right.
And so for us, we had to say, what if we can't get home?
Right.
Like, what does it look like? So I just want to walk you through the entire plan, basically, that we had, and even how we came to that plan.
Yeah. The first thing we had to do was actually just stay on top of what the current restrictions were regarding quarantining and what that looked like, because those are kind of changing constantly.
Yeah, so we knew going down there what the current restrictions were.
Right.
And our plan was that, first of all, we tested before we left home.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. I tested, you guys will remember this, the morning of the cruise because I was so paranoid. And so we really tried to be very careful. Even before going on the cruise, we tried to close our bubble quite a bit.
Yeah, so for about the 2 weeks before we even left for the cruise, we went to work and we came home. And I work in an office where I have my own office. And so I walked in the building and closed my office door and I worked and then I came home. I did everything I could to stay away from people, and you did too, as much as possible. As
much as possible. In fact, that's one of the things I said in a video was that I feel so sorry for people who met me before the cruise, because I was not shaking hands. I was
6 feet away.
Yeah, it's back. And so even before what happens, if we test positive, we put things in place to try to let that not happen.
Right.
But then, again, what if we do? So we knew how long we would have to quarantine for. Mm-hmm. But then it's what do you do? Where do you quarantine at?
Right.
So our plan was that if one of us tested positive at the port, we would go get basically another test somewhere locally in San Diego.
Right.
I had a list on my phone of testing sites that were open on that day that were close to the port.
Right.
So we would have gone and tested again just to kind of confirm that we were positive.
Right.
Then the next step for us, because again, we couldn't rent a car and drive home, we couldn't fly home, we really did have to quarantine somewhere. So I had also looked in, this is where me being a researcher really did help.
Yes.
I had looked into basically what you're supposed to do if you're quarantining in a hotel, as far as notifying the staff, notifying the front desk, all of that.
What kind of hotel?
That's what I was just going to say. So even the kind of hotel that we would have gone to, I had a list of extended stay type hotel properties. And what that means is those are normally hotel rooms that have a kitchenette in them, because if we would have had to quarantine at the time for 10 days is what it looked like.
Right.
We didn't want to DoorDash 3 meals a day. We're not going out if we tested positive for COVID.
We're staying in the hotel room, so we would have Instacarted some groceries and just cooked as much as we could.
Yep, we would have notified the hotel that we were quarantining in their hotel, asked them, because when a hotel knows that you're doing that, and that's a popular thing all over, it's very common, obviously they change how often, like guests go, or not guests, like staff goes in there for cleaning and all of that. There's
and
different.
probably the cleaning procedures, I'm sure, change if they know that there's a positive
exactly.
person in there.
So before we ever stepped on a plane to go to San Diego, we knew where the testing sites were. We knew the list of extended stay type hotels in that area that we could potentially quarantine.
Yep.
We knew the things to say to their front desk.
Yep.
But we also then had to be realistic about the fact that if we tested positive, that would be a significant amount of money for us to safely quarantine.
Right.
And this is one of the things that I think people don't necessarily do, and why I think this is so important, is have funds available for the what ifs.
Budget that into your vacation cost.
Yep.
Because it's going to be a big cost. And even if you can like rent a car and drive home, you're still renting a car. And if you're not able to drive home in one day, you're staying at a hotel somewhere. Same hotel procedures. Like that's still going to be additional costs that you hadn't planned on. And so it's for us, we just budgeted what that would probably cost into our vacation cost.
And thank God we didn't have to spend that.
And then if you don't need it, then you have extra money. Yay.
But here's the thing. The reason I think this is so important to pre-plan and to think about is that in the moment, what happens is that, let's say you've been looking forward to this vacation like we had been.
Yeah.
You test positive. Instantly what happens is that your emotions are high. Rational thought becomes more difficult, right? You're being guided by emotions and disappointment and all of the what ifs and the, oh my God, what do I do? That's right, panic. Mm-hmm. And so what was important to me is that in the event that situation happened, I'm not trying to figure everything out when I'm not in my right mind.
Right, like we have the notes in our phone, and so we know, okay, well, this is what happened, so here's what we need to do now.
Yep. And the funds were available that if we needed to say, we have to stay in this hotel for 2 weeks, we can make that happen.
Right.
I know that there's a lot of people out there that would be like, just get on a plane and fly home. They don't require that. Our conscience wouldn't let us do that.
No, and I don't think that that is a very good human thing to do.
No, of course it's not.
I mean, don't do that.
Yeah.
Just don't do that.
Completely.
Be a good human.
Yeah.
So then also built into our plan, if we did test positive, we are both fortunate enough to have most of our work that we can do remotely. Mm-hmm. So I work from home occasionally, he works from home. And so we are able to just take our computers and kind of work from wherever we are. I know that's not the case for everybody, but we are fortunate that is the case for us. On this specific trip in October, I had not planned on bringing my computer because we were flying down like the day before and we were flying back the day after. And so usually if we're going to be down there for a few days before or after, I'll bring my computer in to get some work done here and there. I had not planned that on this one, but because if we got stranded in San Diego, I needed to be able to work. I can't take 10 days off of work. So I brought my computer and lugged it around with me onto the ship and off the ship, and I didn't ever take it out of my bag because I didn't need it, but if I needed it, it was going to be there.
And that was, again, we tried to think through all of the what ifs. Right? Because I think that it's those what ifs that sometimes in a moment of emotion or of panic, the what ifs get difficult. And so we said, let's think about those before we even get on the plane.
Right.
And I'm really glad that we did. I'm even more glad that we didn't have to put any of that into place.
Yes.
So our plan would have been to quarantine at a hotel safely until such a time that we were cleared and safe to travel. We would have canceled our return flight home on Alaska Airlines, and we would have just rebooked for the first available flight after we were cleared and safe to travel.
Right.
Again, a little bit unique for us because of our situation in Alaska. Mm-hmm. Driving home just wasn't an option.
Was not an option. Like, we were not allowed to drive through Canada, and you can't drive to Alaska any other way.
Yeah, no.
So,
we were stuck in San Diego for a set period of time. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of what our process was like.
Right.
Was just sitting down, and I think I would encourage people to do this. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like insurance. I hope you never have to put this plan into place.
Right, but if you do, you have your plan, you have your funds in order to execute that plan. I think it's necessary. I think it's something you have to think about in today's world.
One of the things that you mentioned, we were talking about this, and I think is really important, is that this is helpful not only for a cruise vacation, because we've started to do this with any time we travel.
Any travel at all. So like you're traveling for work in a few weeks, and we're getting those kinds of plans in place as well for that. Like if he starts feeling icky on his trip and tests positive, he's not flying home. So
yeah, so what does it look like for me to have resources available and plans available to know what the local procedures are if I have to spend a week or 10 days or 5 days, whatever the CDC says, in Cincinnati or in Orlando or in Tallahassee or in any of these places I'll be traveling to.
Right.
We have a trip coming up that is just like a short weekend trip. But one of the things we've learned in COVID is that short weekend trips can become not short weekend trips.
Correct.
Real quick. So even though it's a short weekend trip, we're still bringing all of our work stuff.
Yeah.
Just because of the what if. We just want to be realistic about traveling safely in the current environment.
Right. And it doesn't seem like it's just going to go away super soon. So I think it's something to just sort of build into your vacation budget, your vacation planning. Just get your mind in that space, because I think that's where we are. That's the world we live in now.
I think so too. And it does. Here's the thing. It sucks, right?
Yes.
Like there's a lot of vacation planning that I really love and enjoy. We're in the middle of that right now with some trips that we'll announce soon. But there's a part of this that's like, man, this is a part of vacation planning that I don't love. I don't love knowing like what the hotel regulations are if you have to quarantine in a hotel in California.
Right.
Like that, what a dumb thing to have to know. But it's a really important thing to have to know if you have to use it to keep not only yourself safe, but those around you safe as well.
And again, that's not something you want to be doing spur of the moment. Like, crap, I just tested positive. Now I'm stuck in San Diego, or I'm stuck in Tallahassee or in Cincinnati or wherever. And what do I do? Where do I go? So to have those plans in place, I think is...
Can you imagine? Like, I remember how heightened the emotion for us already was at the cruise port in San Diego. And if we would have gotten a positive test, like what would have happened to our emotions? Now, granted, this was a little bit different because like viewer cruise, friends, disappointment, all that kind of stuff. But any vacation would be so disappointing.
Yes.
And so figure it out beforehand. Don't try to make rational decisions in the height of emotion. That's just a good life tip.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's just a good life tip. So you guys, I know this is different than a lot of the videos we do, but for us, the three things that we want our channel to focus on is inform, inspire, and do good. Yeah. Sometimes we post videos about love languages, right? To hopefully inspire others to love the person that you're with. And sometimes we post videos about what happens if you test positive for COVID, because we think that this could help inform other people as they're planning their trips.
Yes.
That's the whole reason of what we do. So we hope this helped someone.
I hope so. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of you guys that are planning cruises and planning trips, and so hopefully you'll be able to keep this kind of stuff in mind and get this planned out and not ever need it. Hopefully you won't need any of it.
I hope so too. I hope this video is completely irrelevant to all of your trip experiences. We've been getting the number one thing that we get questions about over the last probably 6 months or so is cruising and COVID.
Yeah.
And so I just figured, let's make a video. Let's talk about it. Let's let people know what our plan was. Friends, there you go. We love you so very much. And again, I hope this video completely irrelevant to you.
I hope so.
I hope you never have to put any of this into practice.
Yeah, I hope we never have to. I hope you never have to.
I hope we never have to.
Yeah, but I think it's good to have in place anyway.
I'm going to knock on wood. There's no way this desk is made of real wood, but we can pretend. You guys, we love you so very much. Thanks for being a part of our community, and we'll see you on the next LeggLife video.